Hello. Being a huge fan of Edgar Allan Poe, I'm glad that someone had mentioned Edgar Allan Poe and wondering if I did any of the Edgar Allan Poe songs, or poems, I should say, short stories, what have you. I have, but I usually just use the uh, auto upload for YouTube to test how long it takes me to say them, and I perform them in person. However, since you were so nice to ask, I will gladly read The Raven, which is one of my favorite poems to read, and I just love doing it. It's fun. This was what I actually presented to my speech class. It takes about 7.5 minutes to do, so I have plenty of time to talk before and after. So now, without further ado, because I don't want to tarry and take too much time, yes, that does rhyme, but only sometimes, we have The Raven. First, let me have some water. Nasty, nasty cough I've had for a little while. And no, that is water. It is just frozen ice that has slowly gone away, and now it is just lukewarm water. Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, tapping at my chamber door, only this and nothing more. Ah, distinctly I remember, it was in the bleak December, and each separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow, vainly I had sought to borrow from my books surcease of sorrow, sorrow for the lost Lenore, for the rare and radiant maiden whom the angels name Lenore, nameless here for evermore. And the silken, sad, uncertain rustling of each purple curtain filled me with fantastic terrors never felt before. So that now, to still the beating of my heart, I stood repeating, "'Tis some visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. 'Tis some visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. This is it and nothing more." Presently my soul grew stronger, hesitating then no longer. "Sir," said I, "or madam, truly your forgiveness I implore. But the fact is I was napping, and so gently you came rapping, and so faintly you came tapping at my chamber door, that I scarce was sure I heard you. Here I opened wide the door. Darkness there, and nothing more." Deep into that darkness peering, long I stood there wondering, fearing, doubting, dreaming dreams no mortal ever dared to dream before. But the silence was unbroken, and the stillness gave no token, and the only word there spoken was the whispered word, "Lenore." This I whispered, and an echo murmured back the word, "Lenore." Merely this and nothing more. Back into the chamber turning, all my soul within me burning. Soon again I heard a tapping, somewhat louder than before. "Surely," said I, "surely that is something at my window lattice. Let me see there where they're at us, and this mystery explore. Let my heart be still a moment, and this mystery explore. 'Tis the wind and nothing more." Open here I flung the shutter, when with many a flirt and flutter, in there stepped the stately raven of the saintly days of yore. Not the least obeisance made he, not a minute stopped or stayed he, but with mind of lord or lady perched above my chamber door. Perched above a post of ballast, just above my chamber door, perched and sat, and nothing more. Then the ebony bird beguiling my sad fancy into smiling, by the grave and stern decorum of the countenance it wore. "Though my crest be shorn or shaven, thou," I said, "art sure no craven. Ghastly grim and ancient raven, wandering from the nightly shore, tell me what thy lordly name is on the night's Plutonian shore." Quoth the raven, "Nevermore." Much I marveled this ungainly fowl to hear it discourse so plainly, though its answer little meaning, little relevancy bore. For we cannot help agreeing that no living human being, ever yet was blessed with seeing bird above his chamber door, bird or beast above the sculpted bust above his chamber door, with such name as Nevermore. But the raven, sitting lonely on that placid bust, spoke only that one word, as if its soul in that one word he did outpour. Nothing farther than he uttered, not a feather than he fluttered, till I scarcely more than muttered, "Other friends have flown before. On the morrow he will leave me, as my hopes have flown before." Then the bird said, "Nevermore." Startled at the stillness broken by reply so aptly spoken, "Doubtless," said I, "what it utters is its only stock and store, caught from only some unhappy master, whom unmerciful disaster followed fast and followed faster, till his songs one burden bore, till the dirges of his hope that melancholy burden bore, of never, never more." But the raven still beguiling all my sad soul into smiling, straight I wheeled a cushioned seat in front of bird and bust and door. Then upon the velvet sinking, I betook myself to linking fancy unto fancy, thinking what this ominous bird of yore, what this grim, ungainly, gauntly ghost, and bird on this bird of yore, meant in croaking nevermore. This I sat, engaged in guessing, but no syllable expressing, to the fowl whose fiery eyes now burned into my bosom's core. This and more I sat divining, with my head at ease reclining, on the cushion's velvet lining that the lamplight gloated o'er, but whose velvet violet lining and the lamplight gloating o'er, she shall press, nevermore. Then methought the air grew denser, perfumed from some unseen censer, swung by seraphim whose footfalls trickled on the tufted floor. Wretch, I cried, thy God hath lent thee, by these angels he hath sent thee. Respite, respite, and repent thee from thy memories of Lenore. Quoth, oh quoth, this kind nepent thee, and forgot this lost Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of devil, prophet still, if bird or devil, whether tempter sent, or whether tempest tossed thee here ashore. Desolate, yet all undaunted, on this desert land enchanted, on this home by horror haunted, let me truly, I implore, is there balm in Gilead? Tell me, I implore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still, if but a devil, by the heaven that bends above us, by the God we both adore, till this soul which sorrow laden, if within the distant Aden, it shall clasp a sainted maiden, whom the angels name Lenore. Clasp a rare and radiant maiden, whom the angels name Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Be that word or sign of parting, bird or fiend, I shrieked upstarting. Let thee back into the tempest and the night's Plutonian shore. Leave no black bloom as a token of thy lie thy soul hath spoken. Leave my loneliness unbroken, quit the bust upon my door. Take thy beak from out my heart, and take thy form from off my door. Quoth the raven, nevermore. And the raven, never flitting, still is sitting, on the pallid bust of Pallas, just above my chamber door, and his eyes have all the seeming of a demon's that is dreaming, and the lamplight o'er him streaming throws his shadows on the floor, and my soul from out that shadow that lies floating on the floor shall be lifted nevermore. And there's The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. I hope I didn't get too loud. I know I can sometimes overdrive the microphone, so I had to back off from it a bit, especially during the more emotional parts of it. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Goodbye.